Hey folks, we are going to talk briefly about how to cite your sources in your speech. If you look at the rubric for giving the informative speech, you'll notice that citing sources is an important item on there, and if you don't do it, you're going to miss out on a bunch of easy points. So, citing sources inside a speech when you're talking is going to be a little different than citing your sources in an essay or on your research sheets where you're giving a full MLA citation. In a speech, you're not going to give a full MLA citation. You're just going to give enough information to let your audience know that you've gotten some factual information from another source and to give an appropriate attribution to that source. So I'm going to give you two different ways that you can cite your sources in your speech. You can choose the way that you feel is best for you. One isn't more correct than the other. You can do it either way. But you do need to do one of the two ways in order to get the points in your speech. And the reason for that is because it's an ethical way to give a speech. You want to give attribution, share the credit with the people who have gotten the facts and provided the information that is supporting your claims that you're making in your speech. It also helps your own credibility because it shows that you've done your homework and you know what you're talking about. So, our first option is to give your source after each supporting detail. So, when you're in the main points of your speech, you give your main point and then you give your supporting details for that main point. And you'll give your supporting detail, you'll cite your source, and then you'll explain your supporting detail. Then you'll move on to your next detail, cite the source for that detail, and then explain it in your own words. So let me show you what that looks like. If we're talking about bees, giving an informative speech about bees, one of our supporting details might be that bees use dance to communicate. According to the New York Times, and then our explanation would be that female bees dance up and down and from side to side to tell each other what kind of pollen there is and how far away it is. So we haven't gotten into all of the details of the citation. We've just identified that it came from an article in the New York Times. And when you hand in your speech packet, you'll have your research pages and you'll also have your outline that include the full citation. So I will be able to tell where you got your information from. Here's another example using this method. Zombie stories started out in Haiti. And our evidence or our source is an article by Stephen Bird that described the history of zombie mythology. And that article says, and then our explanation, that zombies weren't originally flesh-eating monsters, but people whose minds had been controlled by voodoo priests. So a second way to do this is to cite your source after the main point. And this would be a good way to do it if your supporting details all come from the same source, so that you don't have to keep saying over and over again from the New York Times, this came from the New York Times, this came from the New York Times. If they're all the same, just say it once. Say it after you give the main point. Then cite your sources, then give your supporting material and explanations. So what does that look like? If you gave an informative speech about cats, you might have a main point that says that cats are more environmentally friendly pets than dogs. They're better for the environment. And you got research from Science Magazine in 2015 and the New Scientist in 2018 to prove this claim. And now you've got supporting details to prove your main point. First, cats eat less meat than dogs because their bodies are smaller. And then you're going to explain that. This means it takes fewer resources to generate food for them, and therefore their environmental footprint is smaller. Secondly, cats emit less gas than dogs because they are exclusively carnivores and they digest meat more efficiently. And this means they don't fart as much and they don't affect greenhouse gases as much as dogs do. So you've got two supporting details that prove your main point that cats are more environmentally friendly than dogs, but you've only cited your source once because both of those details use the same sources. So, whichever way you choose to do it, it's up to you. Make sure that you cite your sources in your speech. If you've got questions, please email me, visit me during my office hours, or email me to set up a special time to meet. And good luck. I'm excited to see what your speeches look like.